Aloha everyone and welcome to KCC's Blue Table Talk. For those who weren't able to join us last month, Blue Table Talk is where you're able to gain student perspective, tips, and solutions on how we face day-to-day obstacles while attending college. So for spring semester, we'll be streaming live every last Monday of the month on our YouTube account, again found in the link below. Our topic for today is physical and mental health during the pandemic. So today you'll get to meet and hear from KCC student leaders. We have the Office of Student Activities, the Board of Student Activities, and Student Congress here with us. So we'll have them introduce themselves and we'll start with Osa.
Hi, thank you for having me. So my name is Rosa, and I'm a student assistant with OSA. For major, I'm not totally sure yet. For OSA, you can come get your student ID, your UPass. You can come to the Kamakila Student Center to study or relax. We're open Wednesday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 4:30. So come by anytime you want to study or you need an ID. Just be sure to check in on Lumi site beforehand.
Thank you, Rosa. And again, she's from OSA, the Office of Student Activities. Next, we'll hear from Bosa, and I'll introduce myself. Aloha, my name is Cece, and I'm the chairperson for the Board of Student Activities this year, and I'm majoring in the Hospitality and Tourism program. So for those of you who are interested to join the BOSA team next year, we will have applications open on the 1st of March, and the deadline will be the end of March. We do have some events coming up. We have the walkathon happening 26th of February from 4 to 6 at KCC. So we hope to see you all there. You can check us out on our social media pages at KCC BOSA on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can contact us via email at kccbosa@hawaii.edu. So nice to meet you all.
Hi, my name is Cassidy. I'm the member of the Board of Student Activities, and my major is IT. We'll be looking forward to receiving applicants.
Thank you, Cassidy. Now we'll turn the time over to Student Congress.
Aloha, my name is Alex. I am the Student Congress President. Our open applications will begin at the end of March, April, for our new Student Congress to be voted in. A couple of events that we have going on for this semester, the remaining of the semester, we'll have a March Munchie event that will be happening. And then we also will have a student care package event, which will be another reprised collaboration with BOSA and OSA, which is really, really exciting. We also have a Planned Parenthood conversation regarding sexual education, which will be coming up. And for the month of February, since it is Mahina Olelo Hawaii month, we are also doing a collaboration with the library. So expect that content to be displayed out through our Instagram and through all our platforms.
All right, hi guys, my name is Jenny. I'm the treasurer for Student Congress. I'm also a biology major. It's nice to meet you all. You can contact Student Congress at capccsc@hawaii.edu. So that's kapccsc@hawaii.edu.
Thank you so much. And again, it's nice to meet you all. And I hope that everyone was able to gain the information that you shared. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Friendly reminder that during this live stream, the chat box is open for questions. So for those of you who are watching, if you have any questions during the live stream, please feel free to ask us in the chat box below. So now that you've met our student leader workers at KCC, let's get some of their perspectives on their views of mental and physical health during this pandemic. Reminder for our guest speakers, please feel free to let me know if you do not want to share, but if anything, let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first question we have is, what does mental and physical health mean to you? And we'll hear from Jenny first, if that's okay.
So what does mental and physical health mean to me? It's something that you have to maintain every day in order to lead a happy and balanced life. Physically, I've been trying to work on that, like especially during the pandemic, staying home, cooped up. So it's really good to go out and exercise. And sometimes I forget there's an outside world. So yeah.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that, because right now that's what I'm struggling with too, is like my physical health. Mentally I'm there, physically not right now. But okay, thank you so much, Jenny. Alex?
So for me, physical and mental health, I believe that they coincide together. And I believe that it's very, if internally I'm doing great, mentally I'm doing great. And I think that they both have to be nurtured. And it's part of my practice to just be very cognizant of that. So I really think that it's really important to be able to create mindfulness about my mental health, or if one or the other is lacking, how do I address that with myself?
Awesome. And I know that's kind of hard, especially for some of us who we don't really see the signs of it, when we're lacking. It's only when it's too late that most of us, like I think I'm speaking for myself, then we're like, oh no, I'm struggling with this or I'm struggling with that. And what can I do? And I think that's why we're here today, is to share it. So thank you, Alex, for sharing that.
For me, I agree with Jenny and Alex that mental and physical health has to be taken care of, like nurtured and maintained every day. But for me, I also believe that mental and physical health, it can, the definition of it I have for myself is having the energy and the ability to take care of my basic needs. Just, make myself eat, to go take a walk. That's kind of just making sure to eat healthy and like maintaining myself, really. It's different for everyone, but I understand.
So first of all, health, what does it mean? It is the state of wellness. And I would say that mental and physical health is the mental and physical state of wellness. How well do you feel? How aware of it you are? And even though there are two different parts, they are the same because they are connected to each other. If you're feeling mentally well, you might be able to be physically well.
Thank you, Cass. And I agree with everything that you all said. So for me, mental and physical health is my well-being. It's focusing around me and how I'm balancing my life so far. So I know it may sound selfish, like, oh, you only care about yourself, but no, it really is all about me when I think about mental and physical health. But since we defined what you guys think mental and physical health is to you, any of you have experiences of a time during this pandemic of struggling with mental and or physical health while in school? If yes, do you mind sharing? And what were the factors that caused it? And were there signs that you noticed? And again, just a reminder, you don't have to share if you don't want to. But again, yes, it would be nice to hear from you.
I'm going to take that. I'm going to definitely run with that one. So my mental health struggle happened about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. My car flooded. If you've been here on Oahu, you know that we've been getting some crazy rains and just crazy just weather. And my car flooded. I found out when I got done from work and I was driving my work truck back to work. And it was just very surreal to see half of my car in water. And it rocked me. It really rocked me just in all ways. And I will say that from that moment on, probably within the last week, I've barely been able to come back to myself because it really, it affected my job, it affected my schooling, it affected my money, it affected the volunteer work that I do. I volunteer for a charity called Kupuna. And I will say that one of the most heartbreaking things to experience through this whole thing that really cracked me was when I told my kupuna I could not bring him food. And that it was game over for me on that. I'm very thankful that I have I want to just take a big step back before I want to say that the difference from my old self to where I'm at now, I have a really great support group, and I'm incredibly thankful for my team, my student Congress executive team. I'm incredibly grateful for my friends because I was so lost during this whole experience. And if it would not have been for just people sharing aloha with me, I don't think I would have been able to make it through.
Thank you so much, Alex. And you know what? There are just those days when you don't think that those little things or those big things could cause a big impact on you, but they really do. And I thank you for sharing that experience because I know it's not easy, to share what you've gone through mentally and physically during this pandemic because it is sensitive. But I thank you again for sharing, and just awesome. Yeah, thank you for being vulnerable, just like Kelly said. It's really hard for us in college, for us as teen adults to be vulnerable because, we have to be an adult. We have to suck it up and build a bridge and get over it. But thank you, because it really isn't. Oh, trust, we're going to have talk after this. We're going to talk after this.
I think you make a good point though. It's like, we're adults, but we're also human.
Yeah.
And like one of the biggest things that and I kid you not, like when this all happened, I literally Googled, what do you do when your car floods? Because I literally called 5 people and like no one had anything for me. And that
Mhm.
was, it was perplexing. And that's not like an everyday thing that this happens to people. But I mean, when you're in school and I was taking 13 credits and I had to drop down from those credits because I just could not keep up mentally. I wasn't there and ready for that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
But thank you again.
Oh yeah, Alex, I totally understand. It's like it is surreal how just one thing, one small thing kind of like cracks or falls apart, and then it's like a domino effect of everything else being affected in your life. And I felt that too. I'm sure everyone has as well. During this pandemic, it's been a bumpy ride, and I guess it for me it all kind of like came to a point where I just couldn't handle anymore. A lot of you know politics issues stressing me out, and then family issues that I had to take care of, and then more family issues, and then more just that general feeling alone from being at home all the time, and just the overall feeling of how things are, like, oh, there's a whole pandemic on top of everything else. And I had to do schoolwork to keep up with classes. But with all of that on top, it kind of like crushed me. I just kind of like fell apart, and I had to withdraw late from my classes because I was not in my best mental or physical health, which is related to what I said before. Like I didn't have the energy to take care of myself. I didn't have the energy to eat or to shower or to get out of bed. And that's something I had noticed when I was at work, and then I start crying for no reason, and I realized like, hey, that's not normal, you know? And so from there, I started noticing more things that were not normal. And then, okay, maybe I should do something to steer myself back. And I'm still working on that.
That's so awesome that you're willing to share that, because I think what's so interesting about this time is that we're in a pandemic. Like that really is the overarching thing of everything. We're in a pandemic, and that alone, like the stress of that is compounded 10 times. And I think it's really, for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, like I think it's so awesome to see a Wahine like talk about those struggles, because they're your family life and your family position is a whole different ball game, and it's a lot. So I really appreciate you saying that.
You know what? I just have to like a little intervene right now, because I have to agree with Alex. And, Rosa, it's not easy to share that, especially your experience. You and Alex were very vulnerable. But the fact that he said you girl, like, you as a woman are able to share what you share, where Alex, in society, you don't see men talking about their physical and mental health. So for you and Cass to be here, but for you to share that story, I applaud you, because it's not easy. We do have a stereotype where women, yeah, it's not natural to, I'm not saying that I believe in that, but women, it's natural for them to share what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. But for men, it's, you cannot, you got to be a man, you got to grow over it. And that I'm very grateful that you are a student leader, because it's because of you and your examples that you share with us today that help other students who are facing the same exact problem grow and progress, notice it, try to like fix it and find themselves again, and then keep going. And it's not easy, but like as Rosa mentioned, try to find out earlier before it's too late. And not everyone has to find out earlier. Sometimes it does take the last minute to see it and then try to fix it. So thank you again. I can't even say thank you so much.
I have one more thing I wanted to say to you, Alex. Like, I'm just, like Cece said, I really appreciate you being vulnerable. And it's like being like, you're being yourself. You're not holding on to a facade or putting on a face. You're being human. You know, we are all under this pandemic, and there's kind of this expectation of like, pretend you're okay. But, you know, we know everyone is struggling. So I'm really glad to see that you're being open, and I'm glad for it. I'm glad for you.
Well, I'm grateful for these spaces because I mean, one of the biggest things I think that any of us who are here and any of us who get involved in any student activity, especially during this season, we did this because we wanted to better ourselves. We wanted to help each other and we wanted to share aloha. And that's what we're doing. And we're creating spaces where we're able to do that, where we're truly able to thrive and it be a space where no one's gonna judge you for what you're feeling. And so I believe that we're all trying to get through this. And I'm a true believer that if I share my story, if we share our stories, then it's going to resonate with people out there. And, you know, I'm a true believer if you don't understand something or if you're going through something, ask for help. No matter what, ask for help.
So Jenny, do you mind sharing if you have any experiences?
Yeah, so Rosa brought up a good point that it's gradual and it can really affect how you serve, I guess, your basic needs. And one thing I've noticed is that when you're on campus, there's usually like a break between classes where you're like, okay, I can get a snack, or you have time off thinking from what you have to do on your assignments. Well, being at home, you really don't get that privilege. And I've noticed that I wake up and that my first thing in my mind is to do work. There's not really a refresher. And sometimes, a lot of times actually, you neglect your basic needs. Like I would not eat. I could not eat till like 5 o'clock just because I'm just powering straight through it. But in the long run, that is really bad for your health. Really bad. If you're not drinking water and not eating a proper diet, you're gonna end up, because I'm just so stressed that your basic needs ends up being your second priority when you should actually, that should be your first. So I guess that's how it affected me, is it just shifted my priorities gradually, and then it just came to a point where you realize like this isn't healthy, you got to change it.
That's totally true. And thank you, because I see that happening in my own household where I'm so focused on doing schoolwork. I'm so focused on trying to do BOSA work. And then I eat late at night, and that it causes a toll on my physical health, you know? So right there, oh, thanks for sharing that, because I was kind of like hesitant. But this is why we have this space to be vulnerable so that students can learn from our examples. Cass, would you like to share?
Of course. So before the pandemic, I had a lot of resources that can help me complete my homeworks, my class, everything. And one of the main resources I use is the study hub in the Lama Library. And there are tutors there who can help with mostly math and English, and they have the time and availability and the dedication to help the students there. And when the pandemic hit, my resources got cut off, and I decided to go back to KCC. And it was very hard for me because I mean, like my resources was limited, and it was IT. The one major I'm studying right now was pretty much new to me, and it was a little bit hard. I didn't turn in my work early. I was mostly on time. But the worst part is whenever I do exams, I got really hit hard with the grades I've been receiving. It was kind of devastating. It was like I got knocked down, and it took me a while to recover. And I decided to find more resources to help me complete my classes and complete my homework on time, so I get a good grade. And after the semester end, the grades I received, they were not my usual best, but it was good enough. I was fortunate not to fell off deep end.
Thank you, Cass. And, you know, I know that that was actually a big struggle for for most of the students at KCC when we got all of our resources cut off at the beginning of the pandemic, because it was hard for the school to try to, accommodate the students' needs with their workers' health and, the state regulations and stuff. So I know it's not easy to share that, because we all have our different struggles in education. So I guess I'll go next. And being someone of Pacific Islander, you never think you'll be able to go through mental health issues or physical health. Well, actually, I shouldn't say physical, but mental health issues, because it's not normal. It's not normal in your ethnicity. It's not normal to see an island girl go through something and have to share. So I didn't think I was actually going through something until the last minute. But, oh, sorry. Sorry. So before the pandemic, I was a very sociable person, Miss Aloha. I always like to say, oh, hi, everyone. Tried to make everyone come to the most activities, hang out, get to meet them. And I didn't notice until I went to the store after the pandemic has been going on, the end of the year last year, that when I see people that I know, I turn the other way. I always try to avoid talking and making eye contact. And I thought, oh, that's totally normal, COVID. But then I realized when I started losing touch with some of my close friends, I realized, oh no, this is something that I'm dealing with, So, sorry. It's like, I didn't know that I was going through a phase of a mental health issue of distancing, social anxiety, just anti-socialness. And it took me for my mom to actually tell me, say, hey, what's wrong? You're not your bubbly self. I saw so-and-so and you didn't even say hi. I see you disappear. And I was just like, well, I don't know. I've been sitting in the room looking at the four corners of my house. I haven't really been talking to anybody except for my BOSA team and stuff. So it's really hard for me to get back out there and be social. And because I haven't been getting out there, it took a toll on my physical health. And believe it or not, I used to be smaller than this, but it just took some of the family members say, hey, you're gaining weight extremely quickly, more than usual. And I was kind of attacked. I felt attacked. And then I was just like, you know what, but that's the tough love. You gotta, in the Polynesian culture, you have tough love where you gotta be real. You can't sugarcoat things for their own benefit, but little do they know that it's taking a toll. I'm not saying it's just the Polynesian culture, I'm not saying that everybody in the Polynesian culture does that, but like it goes through that phase where it gets hard to talk about mental and physical health because it's not addressed as often as it should be. But I tried, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm grateful for BOSA, because I still have some contact in the outside world. And I'm able to still interact and try to be myself again. And that's where it gets hard, is when you're trying to define, okay, what was I then? Like, how do I define what was good of me then versus now? And the pandemic does have its pros, but the con took a big toll on my mental and physical health. So, yeah. So I'm trying to people would say, oh, you're so nice. You're so out there. I was like, if only you knew me then, I was really out there versus right now. But yeah, I just want to thank you all, because each of you shared something that I know a student may be going through, or I know that they may be facing in the near future. And one thing that I can only say for me is, try your best. Don't give up right then and there, because I was almost going to give up in the sense of I didn't want to go outside anymore. I didn't even want to come to BOSA meetings in person, because I didn't want to put a facade on that I'm this happy girl when really I'm just not really there right now. I'm so stressed. And I think things that really took a factor in is schoolwork. This is my last semester at KCC. I'm trying my best to get these good grades so that I can transfer to a four-year college. And with all that piling on, it has a domino effect where, because I'm doing this is affected, and there, so on and so on. And again, I just want to thank you all for being so vulnerable and sharing, and I'm sorry for crying. But yeah, so
No need to be sorry, Cece.
It's okay. It's okay.
Very normal to feel isolated, especially during these times. Just thank you for sharing, because I know there's people out there that feel the exact same way. as you and they feel less alone now.
Oh, thank you. But
One thing I'm also learning just from based on like conversations that I'm having with other folks, it's like I think from this January, from that election to now, I think we've all started to crack. I think like everything, I think everyone is really starting to really, the people were throwing that COVID fatigue term out there over the summer. No, I think that COVID fatigue is like hitting, at least from a student perspective. Everyone that's in my sphere has literally said to me from December to like now, something is in the water, something's in the air. Like we're just like, we're really cracking. And, you know, I did say something that was interesting though, or really not so interesting about like how something to the effect that mental health is, it's not common for us to talk about it. So like, what would you say, or how do you feel we can make spaces more open so like people can heal, people can have these moments that we're having, you know?
yeah. Oh, shucks. Yeah, so Kelly mentioned actually, and it goes along with what Alex is saying is that it's because it's been a whole year and people didn't expect this pandemic to go on for so long. But because it did, as Rosa mentioned, there is a domino effect from it. People may not notice it at first, but it takes a while to actually see the signs that you're going through something. And you know what? It's okay. Everyone has to go through something at least once in their life. If not, hats off to you. But it's just so hard nowadays, and especially like I was actually talking to my BOSA team. I said it's getting extremely hard because professors are getting the hang of Zoom. And because they're getting the hang of Zoom, more assignments are coming, and I'm just like, can I write to them saying, can you take it easy? But it's like, where can we, just because I feel like I'd be grateful if the professors were looking at this. I'm not saying all my professors do. I love all of you, but I do know that there are students who are struggling because you see the lack of participation in Zoom classes. You see them not showing off and showing up, and that's what, yeah.
I want to share something that my kumu said to me last semester, and it made a lot of sense. And again, it just piggybacks on what you just said, that you know that that lack of participation, it happens gradually until you just have a big ocean. My kumu said to me, we need to engage the students who do not conversate, who are the kids that are sitting in the back. Those are the ones that are not participating. So like, if anything, I hope that through this channel, through this vehicle, folks recognize, just email your kumu, your professor. Like I literally, when this situation happened, after I called my 5 people that I was my support group, the next 3 emails were out to each one of my kumus. My car flooded. I don't know how long this is going to take. I need some help. And within 24 hours, I got that help. Again, just ask for help, no matter who or what. Ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help.
I love that you brought that up, because that actually kind of leads to our next question. And that is, what is one advice you would share with the student body regarding mental and physical health during this pandemic? So, Rosa, if you would like to start us off, we'd greatly appreciate it.
I'm ready. I had my notes. So one thing that my best advice is what worked for me. So as I said, my kind of bad point started in November. And when I noticed that, like when I noticed these things, I wasn't taking care of myself, I started a journal, not like a diary entry journal, but with the little energy I had, I would take 5 minutes at the end of the day to get my notebook and just write the day. Did I eat today? Did I take my medicine today? Did I shower today? Did I talk to anyone? Did I leave the house? And so I started that. And then I, wrote the same thing the next day and the next day and the next day. And so I've been writing daily notes on my behavior since November 15th. And so that is my best advice, is to keep a journal, just keep track of everything that you're going through, you're feeling, you're doing in one place, so that you can look back on it and see your trends and see your progress. because like we've all been saying, it is gradual. The degrade is so gradual. And it's only when you look back, when you can actually look back and see what's been happening, when it started, and how, how badly things have gone or how good things have gone, It's all about looking at your trends. So that's my best advice.
Awesome, thank you. And that's totally true. I actually do keep a journal, but the journal is for things that happen to me, like, oh, I got into KCC, I'm gonna graduate soon, those kind of things. But I'm glad that you mentioned just write everything down, things that you want to remember, and just so that you're aware and everyone's aware of your day. I also keep a journal for my future legacy. I hope I have a future legacy, but that's what I keep a journal for. Thank you so much, Rosa. Alex, do you mind sharing?
So I would say my advice stems from a lot of folks may not know this, but I was Hanide as a baby. And so, like, I've met my biological parents, so I understand what that concept is like. And I've lived through the experience of losing both of my parents. So that was a very interesting experience in itself. So what I learned from that was the worst thing someone can tell you is no. So no matter what, ask for help. I literally remember when all I had was 20 bucks in my pocket and I had to make it with that for the rest of the month to survive to eat. I had zero shame asking people for help when I had to eat. Because let me tell you, something I can do is I can eat. I love to eat. I love food. But with that, at the same time, there's no shame in asking for help. No matter how trivial, no matter how small the situation may be, if you need help, just ask for help.
Great advice, Alex. And I hope that's something that our viewers can learn from, is don't be afraid to ask for help. And it really does take someone to say yes to really change your life. And like Alex mentioned, the hardest thing that you could get is a no. But I don't know who would say no,
Again, I mean, that's also realizing that sometimes that no leads to something even greater.
Mhm.
And I'm living proof of that. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Cass?
So I agree with most of you. So first of all, you have to be aware of yourself. Take notes of how you're feeling now and ask for help when you need it. Also, you have to find something that can help you keep up your mental and physical health, keep you more stable. I would like to do activities like boxing, running, hanging out with friends. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help, like Alex said, but also be safe.
Thanks, Cass. Thank you so much. And it's actually really funny because Cassidy, every time we have an event or every time we have a meeting online, he's always coming home from some sort of activity, which is really great. I commend him for that. That's how I know he knows Levi, was through boxing. He used to be the old PRO for Student Congress. So thank you, Cass, and keep up the great work. You're doing so much. He's actually our longest member of BOSA, and he's been such a help to my board and I, because we're all new. So he's been able to guide us along the way. And again, thank you, Cass. Thank you for sharing your examples and advice. Jenny.
Oh man, okay. Everyone's saying brought up really good points. I really like what Rosa said about just really self-reflection and taking that time out of the day to just review on how you felt and why. And it kind of reminds me, I had this biohazard training for my lab assistant job here at KCC, and he said that when there would be an accident in the lab or something, always take like 5 seconds just to assess the situation and not to jump right in, because I think that relates a lot to maybe a difficult situation you have experienced or currently, is that you take that couple minutes to reflect, why are you feeling this way and how can I guess resolve it. So taking a step back makes the stress more digestible and it's just easier to process.
Couldn't agree with you more because I've done that several times. But for me, my advice would be don't give up. Don't you dare give up. There's always a way. And when there's a way, you can get it done. And even when things seem super hard or you're going through a super trialing time in your life, don't give up. Do what Alex, Rosa, Jenny, and Cassidy gave us advice. ask for help. Don't be afraid. Do a self-reflection. Think before you do something, and also join an activity if it comes to the point where you have to do something in order to keep going. The Board of Student Activities, OSA, Student Congress, we have so many activities for you all to join, and it's to keep you all sociable. There are social events created for your benefit to just meet other students, to get a connection with the student leaders on campus as well. So again, I want to thank you all for sharing your advice, and I'm actually going to open the floor. If any of you have comments, stories about physical and or mental health that you want to share for our viewers, because again, remind you, we do have faculty and staff watching. We will have student body watching, and even outside people from Kapiolani if it gets to that point. But if there's something else that you all would like to share regarding physical and mental health, I mean, now's the time. And please feel free to just unmute yourself.
I want to say that one thing that I want to really mahalo one of my hoas, one of my friends. When my situation happened, my friend came to me and said, "How can I help? What can I do for you?" That was everything, because I literally said to that person, I said, "Check up on me. That's all I need. I just need someone to make sure I'm all right." And so I definitely think that that's, we can be each other's best supports because we're living it, we're in it, like for real. We may not have the same similar experiences, but pain is pain. When you see someone cry, I see someone cry, that makes me feel some kind of way, and I don't want that for anybody. And I believe that as human beings, we all want to be loved and we all want to love. And so, yeah, I definitely say that. Try to hold space for someone if can.
I really agree with you. That's a really good summary of, or in my head, that's a good summary of what we've all been talking about. Just wait and listen and reach out and keep your hands busy, keep yourself busy. Because of the pandemic, because of like the isolation, it's easy to just be by yourself. But when you have problems that no one tells you how to deal with, like your car floods, or now suddenly there's a pandemic and everything's going on, nobody tells us what we're supposed to do, But here we are, we're still trying, we're all here, so we're still trying, and we're still keeping our hands busy, even if some or most days we can't, we just can't. We're still trying here, all of us, and I know other people are too. Mhm.
Thank you so much. And, piggybacking off what both of you said, there are programs on campus that care about your mental and physical health and are willing to be that ear to your voice. We do have the CAL program. We have counselors who are at the ready to just be there for you and be that friend and guidance during your college experience. I actually had an experience where as you all know, I've changed majors several times. And because I changed majors several times, I had to talk to my counselor on a day-to-day basis. And I'm very grateful for my hospitality and tourism program counselor, because when I was going through a financial setback due to my lack of activity at school, because I was so worried about my family, I cared more about work, she always helped me. She said, "Cece, you're here. That's the first part. Let's get this done." And because I actually reached out for her for help, she was willing to help me. And that's why I just want to, again, thank you all for being so vulnerable, and know that there are people on campus who care. You don't just have to go to a friend, you can go to people on campus. But Alex, I understand where you're coming from, where we all have that one friend that's like our therapist. Tell me not, yeah? So my friends have been such a good support system, as well as my team members of BOSA. They may not know it, and I hate to say this on here because they're gonna be like, "Cece, you're so mushy," but I'm like very grateful for them, because if you all know Kelly's our vice chair, and she has been taking, when the semester started, she has been taking most of the chair role at the beginning of the semester due to family obligations for me and things that I was going through. And it was just a big help for her to just say, "Yeah, I can do it. Yes, I can do it." Because that yes, it gave me peace of mind to know that I'll be okay. They'll be okay, and that they care for my well-being and that she's willing to go above and beyond her position. So I want to thank her a lot because she does keep me sane. And I just want to thank all my BOSA members. But yeah, so
Thanks, Cece.
thank you. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to share? Again, thank you so much for being vulnerable because, we will have student body, faculty, and staff watching, and this is a great way for them because I realized that we could teach it in the classroom, adults can say, and when I mean by adults, I mean the older generation can try to help, but if it's not people or the age group where people can connect, I don't think the point will get across. And that's why we have Blue Table Talk, is to have students learn from student perspectives. And I just want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here today, to be vulnerable, to share. So
Maybe one last thing, just because we are talking about mental health and healing. One initiative that Student Congress and BOSA, I believe, has jointly worked on is about creating safe spaces on campus.
yeah.
And one thing that, mental health affects everybody in a very different way. So I believe that the initiatives that we have created and that we still have for the rest of the semester, we have really taken an active approach on creating a safe place if you are struggling at home and you have a difficult situation and you don't feel safe at home. We have created a safe place for you at school. There are resources, there are places you can get away from that place. There's the OSA building where, you can play games or you can, just unwind if you need to. There's the library if you want to read and take your mind off of that. There are resources available to the student body if you need a safe place. And I just really want folks to know that.
Thank you so much, Alex. And again, I can't thank you and Cass enough for coming and being that male presence in our Blue Table Talk. It's not easy, and I applaud you for that. And to be vulnerable while live streaming, it's very hard. You don't want to be portrayed as a crybaby. You want to be portrayed as your normal self. But again, I thank you. And I'm very grateful that we have these talks because I get to know more about you all, and it's really good because we don't see each other in person. And I want to let you all know that you all can call me. I won't leave my phone number in this live stream, but I'll text it to you all in our group me. But let's continue on because we actually have some fun Q&A questions from the students at KCC. And this question is for Cassidy and I. How have you been balancing schoolwork and a social life? Cass, you want to go first?
All right, sure. I got a really interesting answer. Has anybody heard of Seinfeld? Yes, and there's this one episode, one of the characters said, gotta keep the worlds apart. The worlds are colliding. It blows up. Well, it's maybe a little bit crazy, but he kind of has a point when it comes to like balancing schoolwork and social life. It's true because if schoolwork is interfering with your social life, you're not going to have a great balance and everything can fall apart, break down, and you're not going to have enough time to recover. Schoolwork, the work life, is help us to keep us serious and practical, pragmatic, that kind of stuff. And the social life is to help us unwind, just be your relaxed self. And that's all I want to say is just keep the worlds apart, keep them balanced. You'll do great.
Thank you, Cass. Okay, so for me, I actually haven't been balancing it that well, even though I said I was when I had my one-on-ones with Roman, my student advisor. But how I balance it actually now is that I do take a time out of my day, so at least 2 hours or 1 hour to just sit down, relax, give time to myself, not really socialize, but just to text my friends. Because COVID is still going on and the pandemic is real, I have to really consider my family's health. And because of that, I do stay in contact now more with my friends than I did before. It's actually been very helpful because then I'm still attached to the outside world in some point. So I do use a calendar. I do take time out of my schedule, and it's usually around lunchtime because that's my nap time. But so thank you again. If anyone else would like to share, this question is open for you all, but we do have other questions for our student leader workers. If not, we'll move on. This second question is for Jenny and Rosa. How do you keep your motivation slash focus during courses online? Any advice on anxiety during Zoom?
I'll share. So, one of the biggest motivators in my life is actually really my professors. They are there to help you. If you ask for help, a lot of the times they should actually, they will help you whatever you need on especially what you're learning, and they'll just help guide you through it. And advice how that contributes is go to your professor's office hours and get to know them, because you're not seeing the professor face to face, and there's that distance between you and the person that's grading you that feels very off, if it's the word. So getting to know your professor is really good, and it helps me motivate, like especially during math class, where I remember in high school I hated math. I mean, hated with every fiber of my being. But my professor, God have mercy on his soul, was very patient with me and said, it's okay to fail, it's okay to make mistakes, you're going to learn from it. So using that failure, or just knowing that you don't know everything, they don't even know everything, and saying it's okay to not know everything, but at least I'm trying.
I love that you said that, because there was a time last semester I would email my professor for every little thing, and even the smallest of things. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this a stupid question? But I was like, wait, there are no stupid questions in college, because everything I need clarification, literally. Thank you again, Jenny. That's awesome. Rosa?
Thank you. So I think Jenny's right. Think of the professors, really. I feel like if external motivation isn't enough for you, for me, I find I actually like can't find the motivation to keep up with my schoolwork, to be honest. For me, it's really hard. So what I've been trying to do is to find something about the course that I find personally interesting. Like for sign language, it's interesting to me, but I just don't have the energy to go. But I tell myself, let's just look, I'm gonna do something with my hands. So that's gonna be nice. And then for biochemistry, that's a very difficult thing to find motivation for. So my motivation to do biochemistry, when I do it, is like, let's see if I can do this. Can I read this whole page? Let's find out. Let's see. And as for anxiety during Zoom calls, I feel like having your camera on, if your class is synchronous or if you're in office hours with somebody, I think it's very good to have your camera on. I know everyone gets nervous about it, but my professor at least, has appreciated it. It's my chemistry professor, Professor Bissonnet, I think. At the end of the semester, she thanked me for always having my camera on. Because in our class, there was only 2 people out of like 15 or 20 who had their camera on the entire class time. And so she thanked me for it, for having my camera on, for being engaged. So my advice on that anxiety is like, it's okay to be anxious about it, but there's someone who's going to be grateful for seeing your face. Mm-hmm. And also, it's good. I can see myself, so I can see when I'm not paying attention, So I gotta like keep myself there. Mm-hmm.
No, thank you for sharing, because you brought up a great point that brings me to this point that I have to say. It's not just students that deal with physical and mental health during college. It's also the professors, the academic advisors, and everyone else. Everyone goes through some sort of physical and mental health issue. And I'm glad you brought up that put a face to a name, open your camera on during, because it does make someone grateful on the other side. It's hard for professors to do these Zooms, because it's not like when we were in person that you can see people and you can just talk to them and you can get them to engage. While in Zoom, if their camera's off, you don't know if they're paying attention. You don't know if they're like listening to what you have to say. But I really do applaud our professors at KCC, especially during this time, because it's not easy. And for them to stick it through and try to still give us an education, it's amazing. So even though they're giving me more work this semester, I still love them. I love each and every one of you that are watching this right now. But thank you. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to share regarding these questions that were just previously shared? All right, if not, we can move on. So the third question is for Alex. Excited. Alex, you have this question all to yourself. So do you believe that there is potential to unite students at our school despite the majority of us not being on campus?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I I remember when we met, and I remember when our organizations met. And one thing that I remember at our Fuel for Finals event, we were all sitting down, and it was towards the end of the event, and I forget who it was. Then someone mentioned and said, if the pandemic would not have happened, I think we all would have been like friends, and I think we would have all hung out like a lot. And that really just, it got me. Like, it just, because I think legitimately, we all just want to do our best for each other. And I believe that this pandemic has shown me that no matter what, we literally are here for each other. And the pandemic has, if anything, it fueled us to provide more resources, to provide more help to each other, and in whatever way that looked like. Because for some people, it was food insecurity. For some people, it's they didn't have the money to buy toiletries. So that was every initiative that we have taken upon ourselves, every space that we have been fighting for. It's to unite students. One thing that I will talk about that is actually going to be happening in the Student Center in OSA building, Student Congress, we actually got a printer. So printing services will start to be able to be had from that location. FYI, it's going to be cheaper than the library. The initiative and the drive for that was to unite students, to give students another space that was going to give them the opportunity to be successful. And so, yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that. The walkathon is another great example of that. If that's how you find healing through health and working out, that's another let out for that. So it's to bring people that are like-minded. The game event, again, it's to bring people, if you are not interested in games, but you're curious about it, this is an opportunity so you can connect with other peers that are along that same wavelength. And so I think we're an example of that, of uniting each other and uniting for each other.
So thank you guys for watching, and please don't forget to come to OSA. You can come to the Kamakula Student Center in the building where Subway is to come study and have some snacks and also get your U-Pass. And we are open Wednesday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 4:30. We would love to have you guys come and visit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Alex, Jenny, Rosa, Cassidy, and I just want to thank you all, because there's a reason why you all are student leader workers, and I think we can all see why. You guys are very thoughtful toward the student body, and I just want to remind our viewers who are students and even our faculty and staff, many of the events that we have planned this semester is in benefit for you. We do keep COVID in mind. There is a safety plan, and we highly recommend that you come. The school will not allow us to do events if it wasn't safe. So we do have a safe plan. We would love for you all to just come, meet us, know what we're all about, our organizations, OSA, BOSA, Student Congress. We do have this Board of Student Publications that just finally got a board, so we all congratulate them. But you all will meet them in the upcoming events and Blue Table Talk that we have planned for you all. I want to thank you all for participating in today's Blue Table Talk. We hope that what these student leader workers shared with us today has virtually helped you learn more about how you can get help if you're facing the same physical and or mental health issues during this pandemic. We do have sources on campus that are available to you right now. And yeah, don't be afraid to just ask. They will be in the description box. And I would like to give a big thank you to our Vice Chair, Kelly Huang, for recording and editing these videos. And she doesn't get enough recognition, and this is why I'm saying this right now. So for our Blue Table Talk for March, our topic will be on the environment, climate change, as April is the month of Earth Day. So that'll stream on March 22nd, again at 10 a.m., second at 7 p.m. We wish you all the best of luck during the spring semester, and stay tuned for next month's Blue Table Talk as well. Thank you all for watching. Bye.
Bye.